It's legal talk. Yeah, we keeping it smooth. Your favorite paralegal got the legal groove. From the stars in the courtroom to your cousin's case, we breaking it all down. No rush, just pace. Here's a question I keep getting. Is the gag order in Carmelo Anthony's case still active right now during the appeal? And the honest answer is the order itself doesn't clarify or clearly say. But there's a second, more interesting layer underneath that question because the judge in this case was never actually bound by his own gag order in the first place. Let me walk you through both. I'm Cassandra, aka your favorite paralegal, and this is Legal Doc Talk. So before I get that, let's go into, I'm going to pull up the gag order on the screen and hopefully everybody can see this. I'm going to blow it up some. So this is the order prohibiting extrajudicial statements, the gag order. If you have watched my previous videos, you have an understanding as to what it says. If not, please go watch the playlist from the beginning of the reading of the motion to recuse and motion for a new trial. And work your way up, and that way you'll understand the breakdown of each one. So, a quick background. On July 28th, 2025, more than 10 months before the trial even started, Judge Roach entered an order prohibiting extrajudicial statements on his own initiative without either side asking for it. It bounds the parties, their attorneys, witnesses, law enforcement, court staff, and court appointed officials from making public statements about the character, credibility, or expected testimony of anyone involved or anything likely to influence public opinion or potential jurors. As for how long it lasts, the order itself says it remained in force through trial. A separate order referencing it, the amended order on trial proceedings, says that it stays in effect until the completion of the trial or until further order of the court. Notice neither of these or those phrases say anything about appeal. That's the gap we're working with. So, does through trial include the appeal or not? Honestly, there are two reasonable readings, and the order doesn't pick one for us. The narrow reading, trial means the guilt innocence phase and the punishment phase, nothing more. Those wrapped up with sentencing on June 9th, I believe. And under that reading, once sentencing happened, trial was complete, and the order arguably expired by its own terms right then. Then you have a broader reading. The case is still legally pending. There's a motion for a new trial working through the system, a notice of appeal already filed. Under that view, you could argue completion of the trial in the fullest sense hasn't applied yet, so order is still technically running. Here's the part that tips the scale towards it's probably still active. The order has a built in default. It says it yields only to a further written order of the court. That's a stay in effect unless someone affirmatively, lifts it clause. So even under the narrow reading, if no judge has gone back and formally terminated it, the cautious assumption is that it's still on the books. Now, here's the part I think is genuinely more interesting than the expiration date question. Go back to who the order actually restricts: parties, attorneys, witnesses, law enforcement, court staff, court appointed officials. All right. You might have to pause this and listen to it again. Well, pause, rewind, and listen to that. It only restricts parties, attorneys, witnesses, law enforcement, court staff, court appointed officials. The judge himself is not on it. And that's not unusual, by the way. Judges typically don't gag themselves the same way they gag trial participants, but it matters a lot here because part of the argument for recusing Judge Roach is that he made public comments after the verdict, telling reporters the jury got it right and defending his own contested rulings, including the courtroom access restrictions and the jury strikes. If you're thinking, wait, doesn't that gag order cover it? It doesn't, because he was never a covered person under his own order in the first place. So, what actually restricts a judge from public comments? If you have been with me, I have broken this down for you. It's a completely different source. It is the Texas Code of, specifically Canon 3B. That can, and critically, pending and includes matter. It doesn't have the same through trial ambiguity that the gag order has. Okay. So here's the irony: the gag order, the document everyone points to, has a fuzzy end date and never applied to the judge anyway. The judicial canon, the document almost nobody talks about, applies more clearly, reaches further into the appellate stage, and is the actual basis for the recusal argument. This matters for a very practical reason. If you're trying to figure out whether you, as a witness, a family member, an attorney on the case, can talk publicly right now during the appeal, you need to look at the gag order and its ambiguous end date. But if you're trying to figure out whether the judge conduct was appropriate, the gag order is basically irrelevant. You need the judicial canon instead. Two different documents, two different people bound, two different. So to be clear, I'm reading these documents as written. Nobody has asked the court to formally interpret whether through trial includes the appellate stage in this specific case, and no court has ruled on that question. This is generally an open interpretive issue, not a settled one. So if a court ever does clarify this, either by lifting the order explicitly or by someone getting held in a contempt under it during the appeal, I'll cover that update. So make sure you follow me, get those notifications on so you don't miss that update. But let me know in the comments, narrow reading or broad reading, which one do you think is right? I'm Cassandra, aka your favorite paralegal, and this has been Legal Doc Talk. And just so I could put my little disclaimer out there, this video discusses the language of a publicly filed order prohibiting extrajudicial statements in the Texas Code of Judicial Conduct and the state versus Carmelo Anthony. No court has issued a ruling clarifying whether the gag order extends through the appellate stage of this case. This video is for legal education purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. All individuals are presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. Until then, you all be blessed. Bye.